On today's episode, in a world of price increases, which are hitting more and more by the day, we take a look around the internet at some of the biggest retailers in fishing to see what we can find on sale to give us some relief from these rising prices. We also talk through a ton of kayak mods and upgrades with video included. The Bassmaster Elite Series grinds through an always interesting Sabine River event, and we answer your questions about budget reels, BFS, and the future of Tackle Talk. All that and more on this episode of Tackle Talk.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bill Dance, and you're listening to Tackle Talk.
This is the Tackle Talk Podcast, brought to you by American Legacy Fishing and Outdoors. World-class fishing gear, unmatched personal service. Now, here's your host, Andrew Hayes.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another jam-packed episode of the Tackle Talk Podcast. As always, we are brought to you by the fine folks over at American Legacy Fishing and Outdoors. And we're going to talk in a little bit about some of the sales that American Legacy Fishing and some other people are running here in a second. But even if they didn't have a single sale, they're still the first place that I look for my fishing gear because they're great folks who run their business right. They have those classic Midwest values. They're the kind of people that I want to buy my fishing gear from. They answer all my questions. They help me whenever I need help. They're knowledgeable, all around great customer service, and fast shipping and a price match guarantee aren't too shabby either. Also, because I'm an Elite member, I get 10% back on every single order that I make. So it's basically a blanket 10% back for life. Plus, I get to use code TACKLETALK5 for an extra 5% off at the time of purchase. And because I'm an Elite member, I get free shipping with no minimums and a ton more benefits, making that Elite membership a no-brainer. ALF is just one of my biggest tools throughout the year to save money on the gear that I buy. Between the discount up front and the money I get back on the back end, for anyone like me that's really careful about what they spend, it's a huge help. All of that, and they also have the internet's best selection of used gear, and if you're anywhere near Evansville, Indiana, they have a beautifully remodeled showroom with a ton of gear that you might not even find on the website. They also have a boat installation component to their business and a ton more. They really are just my favorite tackle shop in the country for too many reasons to count. But go check them out over at www.americanlegacyfishing.com, and as always, be sure to use code TACKLETALK5. Okay, folks, we have a ton to get to today. First off, I hope I sound a little better this week. I'm guessing probably not. Allergies are kicking my tail right now. I know it's getting a lot of you guys too, so bear with me. I'm sorry if I sound a little stuffy or whatever in this episode and, words sound a little odd or I sound a little off. I do apologize. I'm trying my best. I am medicined up and I am trying to get through this so it doesn't sound terrible, but I know the past couple weeks, allergies have been kicking my tail and it doesn't seem to be stopping. So hopefully it sounds a little better this week. I tried to record at a time where I don't quite sound so stuffy, but again, appreciate you bearing with us. But let's get into the Bassmaster Elite Series at the Sabine River. Okay, so this event just wrapped up May 15th through 18th. So this past Sunday was Championship Sunday. The Sabine River in Orange, Texas. This is an event that the Bassmaster Elite Series has been to multiple times, and this is one of those events that it seems like you either love or you hate. And if you love it, you probably love it because there's not a lot of forward-facing sonar going on. There's a ton of different techniques that you're seeing, and some of your folks that aren't usually in like your top 10 or top 25 seem to make their way into the top at an event like this because it's a grinder of an event. You're looking at 6, 7, 8 pound limits, very small fish, but you're watching guys kind of struggle just like you probably do on your local body of water on certain weekends. It's not always going to be Lake Fork or Clear Lake or some of these world-class fisheries that you see people fish all the time. A lot of us are fishing places that set up and fish a little bit more like the Sabine River than some of the other places we watch on the Elite Series. So if you like it, that's probably why. If you don't like it, it's because it's small weights, it's smaller fish, and if you're just one of those people that likes to see action, this is probably not the event for you. But your top 10 in reverse order at the Sabine River this year: 10th place, John Cruz; 9th, Justin Hamner; 8th went to David Mullins; 7th, Stetson Blaylock; 6th, Cooper Gallant; 5th place, Kyle Welcher; 4th place, Taku Ito. 3rd place, Koya Fujita. 2nd place, Patrick Walters. And 1st place, his first Elite Series win of his career, Pat Schlopper. So Pat Schlopper, your 5th year Bassmaster Elite Series angler out of Wisconsin, takes home $100,000 at the Sabine River. Again, this might not be everybody's cup of tea of an event, but if you like these, if you like watching the guys struggle and you like watching people have to get creative and you're not just seeing drop shots and forward-facing sonar minnows and fish catches every 10 seconds, this is an event that I know has very mixed feelings about it. I'm on the side of the camp where I like watching these type of events, and I always kind of look forward to this because it is so different than every other stop on the map for the tournament year. So congratulations to Pat Schlopper, your Bassmaster Elite Series champion at the Sabine River. Okay, folks, the next thing here, last week we obviously talked about my new kayak, the Crescent Sholley, and why I chose that kayak, and today I at least wanted to give you a rundown of everything I did and modded on this kayak right out the gate to give you guys some ideas for maybe your own kayak rig, and you can take some ideas off of my build. But I also realized that that's kind of tough to explain over just an audio-only podcast, so I did what I very rarely do, and I made a YouTube video. Now, I don't know if or how many of you will want to watch it, but I did a full walkthrough with show and tell, and I explained every little thing that I did to this kayak to customize it, and it's a lot. And not only did I show you everything that I did, but I actually linked every single part that I used in the description of the video, so there's no confusion, there's no questions on like, hey, what was this piece, what was this piece, I can't find that. Every single link is in the description, so hopefully it's easy for you to replicate on your own kayak rig. So it's like a full 12-minute walkthrough with video and explanation. It's up on the Tackle Talk Podcast YouTube channel right now. Just go to youtube.com/Tackle Talk Podcast. You can go check it out, but really quickly, I do want to at least list off some of the things that you can see in that video. So first off, I obviously put my Newport NK180 motor on the back of this. Now, mounting the motor mount was kind of a pain in the tail because there are a few alignment issues with the Sholley's tail end and where the bolts are supposed to go. So I've got another video coming here in a few days that will show you exactly how I did that. But once I got that motor mount on, then I drilled out some holes and I ran through some tubing, just like some, all-purpose plastic tubing through that kayak. I sort of mushroomed both ends of it so that it can't go back through the hole, used some goop, made sure that I had really nice clean steering lines all through that kayak, and then I ran some Spectra cable through, and I set up my foot steering with like the Select pedals that I like to use on my last build. Then I ran a lift cable for the motor with 2 pulleys to make it easier to pull up, and that way I'm pulling it towards me, so that was a nice change from my last kayak. Then I ran that to a clam cleat. In that video, I also have a pretty good tip on how to tie your knots for anything on the kayak. I'll save that for the video, so you have to go watch that, but that's a great tip if you use any sort of knot for any sort of like paracord or Spectra cable or anything like that on a kayak. So whether that's for an anchor, for a motor, for steering cables, any of that kind of stuff, it's something that I always do to every single knot on my kayak. So go watch the video for that little tip. I added a new strap in the back so that I can still carry this kayak from an actual nice strap with the motor mount still on it. I found a completely random strap website on the internet. I think it was called Strapworks, that finally made like a longer version of the handle that was already on the Sholley. The Sholley handle that came with it doesn't reach all the way over the motor mount, so I couldn't use it. Kind of became obsolete. I wanted to find a replacement for that, and I did. Again, link is in that description of that video. I added 2 Anderson connections really quick so I can quick disconnect my motor and my battery so that I can take either or both of those off at any given time. Super easy. Ran some through-haul systems to make sure that those are watertight. I added bungee cord back into the back hatch. The Sholley comes with like a cam strap sort of system, which I'm not really a big fan of, so I actually installed bungee back in there with a clip system that specifically fits my Yak Attack Black Pack. I added a new throttle mount, so it's got like an 8-inch extender on it, so it's a lot closer to me in the seat. Again, I talked about it. We have Select foot steering. We have the Yak Hobby scupper mount for my GT54 transducer. Then I made a custom flush mount type system for my Garmin 93 SV using some track mount, a couple lock and and load bases from Yak Attack, some rubber spacers, a couple bolts, and it turned out really awesome. So you want to see that whole system and how I made that, you can probably replicate that somehow on your current kayak. I had 2 more Yak Attack through-hull systems to make sure that all my wiring went through waterproof. I sawed out the hatch on the inside of the front of the kayak so that I have a lot more room for my batteries and anything inside. I made a really unique little box for my live scope if I ever want to take that with me, and that way it comes out completely if I don't want to take it with me at all. I added another camera mount to the front so you guys can see how that goes and how I take my photos. I got a new cheap kayak cart that works really well. It's almost like a knockoff of the Wilderness Systems kayak cart, but it was only $70 on Amazon, I think, instead of $250. That was a good buy. New paddle holders that have the roto grips on them. I made a custom keel guard out of a sheet of Kydex and a heat gun. I'm talking a ton of stuff that I did to this kayak that you might want to take a look at just in case, like I said, you want to replicate it on your kayak rig. Also, just a really quick shout out. I want to say thank you to the folks over at Loveland Paddle Sports. The owner down there, Mark, was awesome. He's the gentleman that helped me pick up this Crescent Sholley when I drove down there. I've bought kayaks through probably 4 or 5 different places at this point, and I can confidently say that Loveland Paddle Sports was my best experience that I've ever had through a kayak dealer. They're right there on the water. It's super easy just to try out anything you want. Mark and everybody over there were awesome. Just a great kind of small mom and pop shop versus a lot of these places that, not to name any names, but I feel like some people around here do a little bit too much. You don't get quite the personal service that you kind of wish you did and sort of the feel of a nice hometown kayak shop. A lot of the ones around here have gotten a little too big or a little too big boxy type feel. This one was awesome. So shout out to Mark over at Loveland Paddle Sports in Loveland, Ohio. If I go back and I buy another kayak down the road and it's a brand that he carries, I can guarantee you I will buy it from Loveland Paddle Sports and Mark down there. So just a quick shout out. Really appreciate it. He met me on like his off day after I got off work to help pick up this kayak. He let me go out and try a couple different ones to make sure this was the one I wanted. Again, what you want out of a kayak shop. Huge hat tip to Mark and the whole crew at Loveland Paddle Sports. Okay, next up here, unfortunately, we are going to talk a little bit of a follow-up on what we've been talking about for a couple weeks now, and it's that price increases are finally hitting. And we warned you about this about a month and a half ago. We did the episode on the tariffs and the repercussions that were going to be coming our way and the whispers that we'd heard and the people we'd talked to in the industry. And unfortunately, now we're starting to see a lot of these actually happen. And the worst part is it's just the beginning. It's not going to get better right now. It's going to continue to get worse before you see some relief, hopefully down the road. Maybe not. We'll talk about that here in a second too. But we saw Dobyns already get a price increase. A Dobyns Maverick used to be $99. Now, as of recording this today, they are $119. So that's a 20% price increase. Dobyns Furies used to be $129. Now they're $149. Another $20 price increase. And you're seeing that pattern across the Dobyns lineup. I believe a Caden is now like $189 to $199. So those have gone up. You've seen it across the board in Dobyns land. Dobyns Champ XPs are now $279 to $289, which is the exact same price, or in some cases $10 more than a Shimano X Pride B. And I would probably at this point buy a Shimano X Pride B over a Champ XP. So that's something to think about. So you're seeing it with Dobyns. You're also seeing it with Fenwick. Just a few weeks ago, we did our $99 rod episode, and the Fenwick Eagle was our winner with a $99 price tag at that point. But today, the price tag on that same rod is now $109.95 MSRP. Now, that might not seem like a lot. Again, that's a 10% price increase. You went from $99 to $109. On entry-level gear, a $10 price increase is a big deal. So some retailers are changing those prices faster than others. You might still be able to find a $99 Fenwick Eagle somewhere, but make no mistake, every retailer will have that price soon enough. So what's my point here? My point is the same point that we made about a month ago when we warned you of all this. The price increases are coming, and I have a very hard time believing that they are going to go back down to the prices that we saw before this whole thing started ever again. They may recede a little bit once things start to calm down, but I don't think you're going to see January 2025 pricing on most gear ever again. So my point is, if you've got gear that you've had your eye on that hasn't increased yet and you're on the fence, I would buy it now because it will likely save you money in the long run, which for the billionth time on this show is one of our main goals. Save you money. So I hate sounding like a broken record on this, but we're seeing it happen firsthand. If we use the same analogy we used at the beginning of this whole conversation about a month ago, we knew that the storm was coming. A month ago, we tried to give you a warning. We sort of sounded the alarm. Well, guess what? Now the storm is right in your neighborhood, and you might have some wind damage already, but it's probably still going to get worse. You still might have some time to save yourself a little pain and buy that gear you've had your eye on, and we're going to talk about a few specific instances of that here in a second that we might be able to still help you save some money on. So in that same vein, there are some ways and some places that you can save money on that gear today, and I want to highlight those. So what I want to do today is take a spin around the bass fishing retail world and take a look at some of the best sales across the industry to help you save a little bit of money. And here in Tackle Talk Fashion, yes, we obviously work with one retailer. That doesn't mean we don't talk about other retailers. That's not something that you're going to see us do on this show like almost everybody else does, right? If they work with, company A, B, or C, if it's Omnia, or if it's Bass Pro, or if it's Tackle Warehouse, they have an affiliate link through or something, they only talk about that retailer. We're going to shine the spotlight on about 6 or 7 different retailers today that have different sales running right now that you can save money on as of the time of this episode airing. So first, today though, we are at least going to start with our friends over at American Legacy Fishing. And I'm going to start with ALF because, well, they're my favorite. And call me biased on that one a little bit, but I promise we will get to other people too. But they are the first place that I check, so they're the first company at least that we're going to talk about today. So they are helping with your inflation and tariff blues in true ALF fashion by running some killer deals right now on the website. First isn't even a deal. This is just more of like a friendly piece of advice, wink, wink, nod, nod from me to you. All of their Daiwa gear is currently holding strong at pre-tariff pricing. So if you want anything from Daiwa, so that might be the Daiwa Tatula XT rods we talked about a couple weeks ago for $99, an awesome rod, or just a new Tatula reel, or a new Steez, or a new Zillion rod or reel, both of which I've been playing around with for the past few weeks, by the way, and they are sick. But also maybe just one of like the best sleeper budget spinning reels out there that no one seems to talk about that I love, the Daiwa Exceller. That's still $99 over on the ALF website. All of those are still at OG pricing right now and have not gone up. But again, this is your fair warning. I would buy them now because, wink, wink, nod, nod, those increases might be coming soon. Also, the guys over at ALF have the best selection of used gear on the internet, which is always a great way to save money. But Brian over there has just announced that they are doing 20% off all used gear through tomorrow, Wednesday, May 21st. So today and tomorrow, if you're listening to this on Tuesday, when it comes out, you get an extra 20% off the already low used gear prices over at ALF. So that is another great way to save you money. But they're not finished there. I talked to Brian, and one thing that they've started doing over the past week or so is called The Catch, which is a daily deal over at AmericanLegacyFishing.com. This is why you should sign up for email notifications from ALF, because they've been emailing these out every day. That's how I found out about them. But they've had some great deals over the past couple days, like now you're listening to this on Tuesday, but the day before this, on Monday, they did 20% off Yamamoto Slinkos. But I've got the list of the deals that are coming up this week. Brian allowed me to kind of tease these on the show here, so we appreciate it. There are 4 great deals coming up this week to help save you even more money. On Tuesday, when this episode comes out, they are going to run a deal for 20% off all BKK OCD tackle storage systems, the fully loaded version. So if you remember this, if this sounds familiar or rings a bell to you, that's because last year at ICAST, this was one of the coolest darn things I saw at all ICAST. We talked about it in the episode. It caught my eye immediately when I went to the new product showcase. This was my vote for best in whatever category that it was in by far. This is very cool. So it is a fully loaded terminal tackle box that is meticulously organized. It looks incredible. If you are one of those people, like the name says, right? If you have OCD, if you really want your gear to be in order and look awesome and be very organized and find any hook or anything you need at a moment's notice, this was made for you. So you get this custom storage box. Every hook, every weight, everything that you have in here comes in a labeled mini box that slides right into this bigger box. It's just a very cool system. But you get like 270 hooks boats that, like I said, are all organized with like rugged waterproof storage on the outside in the overall OCD box. So they're going to run 20% off that BKK OCD fully loaded tackle storage box. And then on Wednesday, they're going to run 40% off all Berkley cull shads. So that is the best deal I've seen on cull shads on the internet as of late. We will talk here in a second because there's another retailer that has these on sale that will last for other days. So if for some reason you're not listening to this on Tuesday or Wednesday and you missed this deal, first off, shame on you. You should be listening when it comes out because a lot of this information that we do on the show is timely, obviously. But if you miss it, there's another retailer that's got cull shads on sale as well. Not even close to this discount percentage of 40%, but still a good savings for you down the road. But if you are around on Wednesday, Berkley cull shads 40% off at American Legacy Fishing. That's a great deal. And then on Thursday, they're going to run 25% off Shimano Armajoint swim baits. So if you're looking for a big bait or you want to try something different, I've had my eye on these Armajoints for a long time and I've never pulled the trigger on one. This Thursday, I may very well do that and have my first Armajoint to play around with this year. And then Friday, they're going to run 50% off all spider wire DuraBraid. Half off, no questions asked, no code needed, nothing like that. All of these deals are just by the day to help save you money. So Tuesday, May 20th, it's going to be 20% off all BKK OCD fully loaded tackle storage systems. Wednesday, the 21st, is going to be 40% off Berkley cull shads. Thursday, May 22nd, is 25% off Armajoint swim baits from Shimano. And Friday, the 23rd, is 50% off all spider wire. And these aren't all the deals. Go over, sign up for the email list because there will be more deals coming down the pike in the future in coming weeks that you're not going to want to miss as well. But there's some great deals to help save you some money this week from American Legacy Fishing. Okay, the next place we're going to check here is Amazon, of all places, for a deal that I have to address because we've got a lot of messages about it. People asking, hey, is this real? This looks too good to be true. Is this correct? Or am I going to get, scammed on this? What's going on? And that would be the current Dobyns rods deals over at Amazon. So right now over on Amazon, you can get certain models of the Dobyns Maverick for as low as $58. You can also get certain models of the Kaden as low as $104. So without going into the weeds and too much hearsay on why those deals are there that might have a pretty good idea about, the bottom line is yes, they are there. Yes, they are real. Those rods are legit rods that are going to come to you straight from GSM. And I've talked to a lot of people that have ordered those rods on those deals and they've came through just fine. Now the packaging may not be the best, but they are actual rods shipped to you from GSM. These aren't some weird third-party scam or anything like that. They're coming to you straight from the GSM Outdoors warehouse. But again, it's only very certain models. So right now, it looks like the Kaden 734CB, again, this is all as of the time of recording this. This is all subject to change. But that Kaden 734CB is the one that's marked down to $104. They've also got the 711 spinning rod marked down to $91.85 right now. It looks like almost all the other Kadens are regularly priced, but those are your two deals on Kadens right now. So you do have to do some digging, but there are some silly deals if you look hard enough. It almost looks like they're priced wrong, but I don't think that's the case. I think there's some other stuff there, but these can be had over on Amazon right now in very specific models. Now, if you move to the Maverick models, for instance, those deals are a little bit more widespread. It looks like you can get a Maverick from anywhere from $59 to $82, depending on the model. Now, the Maverick was not my favorite rod in our comparison that we did a couple weeks ago, but as of recording this, they are marked down pretty heavily over at Amazon. Maybe to me, not worth $99, but maybe for $59, you take a flyer on one. Everything else, the Fury, the Champs, the Ecstasies, all those seem to have leveled out and the prices are now normal. A couple weeks ago, you could find some crazy deals on those too. So it seems like everything is returning to normal over at Amazon, but there are still a few staggering deals that you can use over there. But if you're looking for anything else like the Fury, the Champs, the Ecstasies, there's no crazy deals on Amazon anymore, at least again, as I'm looking at it right now. So this is where you would go to more of a reputable dealer like ALF or Tackle Warehouse Warehouse or someone like that and make your order, because I would rather order through someone like that than on Amazon. Amazon is notorious for not having the best shipping and the best experience on rods sometimes. So for me, I'd go to ALF, I'd use code TackleTalk5, and then I'd get 10% back on the back end. As an Elite member, that's still your best way, at least I know of, to save money on these rods right now. But a few of the Cadens, a few of the Mavericks on sale over at Amazon. Next, let's go over to landbigfish.com. And the next deal we're going to talk about checks two boxes for different people. One is for all of you people that always ask, what about Quantum? Why don't we talk about Quantum? And then there's another group of folks that are always looking for like ultra cheap gear, not $99. We're talking way under that. Very, very entry level, very cheap gear. Well, the truth is that there aren't a ton of great options that are below that, I would say like $70 to $90 price point at this point. But I've got an option for you today. It's from Land Big Fish, and it's the Quantum Throttle Bait Caster. They have right-handed models, 7.3 to 1 gear ratio, 15 pounds of max drag, graphite frame, 8 bearings, and that reel is on sale for $29.99. Now, the regular price is all over the place. You can find them from anywhere from $40 to $80 around the internet if you look, but this is the lowest price that I've seen on this particular reel for a competent casting reel in general. This is a hard find for something in that $29 price point, but you're getting a serviceable bait caster from Quantum for $30. It's great for beginners. It's great for folks on a very, very strict budget, or if you just want a nice backup reel or a reel that you can beat up and not feel bad about. $29.99 over at landbigfish.com. They also have Lew's American Hero casting reels marked down from $69 to $34.99, so half off there. They also have the Lew's American Hero spinning reels marked down from $50 to $19.99. So if you're looking for some ultra cheap fishing reels, landbigfish.com does have a few deals you might want to look at today. Okay, next up, let's go over to Omnia Fishing. Now, they've got two deals that we want to make you aware of today that look like they expire tonight, midnight, Tuesday, May 20th. So if you want to take advantage of these, I would do it quick. The first looks like they have 25% off all Outcast tackle. So that's a lot of jigs, jig heads. They've got the Stealth Fighter jig, the Ned heads. They've got swim jig heads, all kind of stuff. If you want to buy some Outcast gear, 25% off at Omnia. It also looks like until midnight tonight, they are still running buy 3 hard baits, get 1 free. So that is a deal that you can mix and match. It looks like it happens right in your cart. And that deal is also available through midnight tonight. Okay, and then that takes us to Tackle Warehouse. And Tackle Warehouse has a deal on a rod that we also talked about a few weeks ago in our $99 rod episode, and that's the Jordan Lee signature rod from Abu Garcia. Now, this rod came in 4th on our list out of 6. It had some issues that we weren't quite crazy about. Mainly, it was heavy, it had small guides, and I didn't really like the handles and the grips, but it was durable as all get out, and the action was pretty solid on that rod. So those rods were $99, but right now over at Tackle Warehouse, they have them marked down to buy 1, get 2 free. So you get 3 rods for $99. Now that seems more than fair to me. Would I buy this rod at $99 again? It's probably not my first choice, but for $33 a piece, basically, yeah, that's a pretty darn good deal. So if you had thought about buying one of those J. Lee rods, now would be the time to do it over at Tackle Warehouse. Tackle Warehouse also has certain colors of Sexy Dogs from Strike King on clearance. So if you're looking for a few new big spooks for topwater season coming up, those are normally $11.99, but right now there are 3 colors: Chartreuse Sexy Shad, Clear Sexy Shad, and Sexy Blueback Herring are all clearance down to $6.97, both the regular size and the junior size. So if you need an Abu Garcia Jordan Lee rod or you need a Strike King Sexy Dog, Tackle Warehouse is your place right now. Okay, and then that takes us to Bass Pro Shops. And we're going to head over to Bass Pro and Cabela's, both of which have the Strike King 5XD and the Strike King 6XD on sale for 25% off, making them $5.08. Now, your 5XD from Strike King is 2 3/4 inch long, I believe, 5/8 of an ounce, and that'll dive probably down to about 15 feet or so. And then if you get the 6XD, that's probably going to run more in like 20-foot range. So those are two pretty deep diving crankbaits if you're looking for that late spring and into summer deep crank and bite at $5. Well worth stocking up on in my mind. I typically run a mix of Strike King XDs if I'm going super, super deep. And then I run a lot of Rapala DTs if I'm running kind of like mid to semi-deep range. And then Bass Pro and Cabela's also have the Berkley Call Shads on sale for about 26% off if you're looking for some bigger kind of harnessed swim baits for that big bite this time of year. They also have their bulk bags of Bass Pro Stickos on sale, which are just kind of like a regular Senko worm. They're 25% off. So you get 30 stick worms for $8.18. 30 worms, $8. For reference, Yamamoto Senkos are now like $8 a pack. I think they're close, like $7.69, but you only get 10 in a pack of Yamamotos. So for the price of 10 Yamamoto Senkos, you can basically get 30 Bass Pro Stickos right now. A great deal over there at Bass Pro Shops. I use those generic stick baits all the time. They work great. Definitely a money saver for you guys that go through a lot of Senkos. So there you go. Really, really quickly, that's from 6 different giant retailers across the country to hopefully help save you some money on everything from rods to reels to hard baits, soft baits, and more as we kind of run up against these ever increasing prices. There are a couple ways to hopefully fight that. Okay, and finally here, let's jump into the mailbag to answer a couple of your questions that you've submitted over at tackletalkpodcast.com. The first question is from Daniel, and he says, what's the best bug spray you've used? I use Off Sportsman sometimes, but these black gnats kept swarming my face and ears after spraying my face, neck, and arms, and even my hat. Granted, I've had this bottle forever, but still, it's super annoying. If you have any recommendations, I'd appreciate it. Thanks, Daniel. Hey, Daniel, I am going to be real with you right here. I don't use any bug spray. I just kind of suck it up and or just complain a lot and smack a lot of bugs away from me constantly and say a couple bad words probably. I am notoriously very bad at planning for things that I know probably could be an issue down the road until it's too late. Like I'm that way with clothing. When it's cold, I never seem to wear enough clothing. I'm not prepared for rain ever. I always end up being miserable out there. It's the same thing with the sun. I never put sunscreen on. Again, that's not a good idea. You should always put sunscreen on, but I'm just being honest. I always forget to put sunscreen on, so I'm always just coming home burned and looking like a lobster. I always forget to pack food and snacks. I tromp right through poison ivy, even though I know it's going to make me miserable like a week or two later. I just get laser focused on one thing, and then I tune everything else out in my life when it comes to fishing, and that's a flaw of mine for sure. Sometimes I feel like it might help me because, again, I just laser focus on the task at hand, which is fishing or getting to a certain spot or whatever that may be, but I usually pay for it later because I was ignoring something that I should have taken a precaution about earlier. So I'm not sure what the best bug spray is. I don't use any of them, so I'm not the right person to ask. I know there's Off. I know there's DEET that a lot of people use, but it seems to me a lot of outdoorsy type people always recommend this stuff called, and I'm going to get this wrong, I think it's called like picaridin. I've seen it written before. I think it's like PICARIDIN, I think. Go look that up. I think it's called like picaridin or picaridin or something. I don't know. But a lot of outdoorsy people seem to like that. I know that's popular in a lot of like camping and that type of circle and stuff. So maybe I would try that. The next question is from Tim, and he says, "Hey, Andrew, I love listening to the show and all your helpful insights. I, too, live in the Dayton area and fish all the local lakes. I also listen and watch other fishing shows, and some of the emphasis has been on BFS, so I went out and bought a new Lew's KVD bait caster and a 6.9 light cast super finesse rod. I'm fairly new to using a bait caster, and I've been very frustrated when using light tackle, such as the Mega Bass Karashi and backlashes, and I believe I just don't have the reel set up properly with the braking system. Any advice you could give would be greatly appreciated." Well, Tim, you've come to the right place. Being the giant BFS guru that I am, I'm happy to help on this one. My advice would be sell the BFS rod and get back to real fishing.
You can act like a man! What's the matter with you?
I'm kidding, of course, kind of. Maybe not. But I just don't get the BFS hype. I think it's a fad, or at least a novelty at the very least, but your conclusion is probably right. That KVD Lew's reel just it's not a BFS reel. So it's going to be very hard for you to cast those little baits because the reel is very important on a BFS setup because you need a really light spool and all the other little intricacies of a BFS reel that let you cast those tiny baits. So those big regular bait casters like a KVD Lose is made to throw like normal, 3/8 ounce lures. It's not made to throw 1/16 or 1/32 ounce baits. So the reel is just a very specialized piece of equipment if you want to do that sort of thing. Now, I'm not surprised you're bird nesting the Lose KVD when you're trying to throw BFS baits because I probably would too. So I would look into a budget-friendly BFS reel. I would look at, I think Cast King makes the Zephyr for about $75. But honestly, for a good BFS reel, you're going to get into that $150 to $200 range at least. Like the Arc Gravity BFS is $150. The Shimano Corrado BFS is $200. The Daiwa Tatula BF, whatever it is, BF70, I think is what it's called, is $240. BFS is a niche, and it's a very expensive niche at that, where I, like I've said before, would just rather use a regular spinning rod and a regular spinning reel for those light applications, but that's just me, to each their own, obviously. All right, the next question here is from Chad, and he says, love the podcast, can't believe I didn't discover it until this past February. That's my bad. I'm a huge rod and reel nerd, and I've been catching up on past episodes. The $99 rod episode was very fun. I grabbed a Fenwick Eagle 6.6 medium heavy extra fast to fill a niche. My question is, have you done a reel episode like that? I didn't see one in the past episodes. I know you're not a Lose guy, but I just grabbed one of the new Custom Pro Gen 3s that's supposed to be groundbreaking. We'll see. Thanks for the great pod. Looking forward to the next one as always. So Chad, my friend, you are probably the 50th person to ask that in the past couple weeks, which means, yes, we will be doing one here very soon. I've done some a long time ago, but I believe it's been years and years since we've done like a best casting reel under $100. It's definitely time to update that for sure. That was, probably one of the first 10 or so episodes that we did was about very, very budget-friendly casting reels. So for instance, the last time we did that episode, I'm pretty sure like the SLX and all those type of things didn't even exist. So it's definitely time for an update on that episode. The next natural question should be, what reels should we include? So budget-friendly reels mean, at least to me, again, I love trying to stay under that $100 price point, even though at this point with the price increases and everything going on, that might be a losing game. But if we want to stay under $100, I'm going to guess that's going to be the Shimano SLX, might be able to get an Arc Gravity at that price, the Lose Speed Spool, but I just saw that went up too, so that might not be in there anymore. The Bass Pro Shops Pro Qualifier is still in there. It would have been like the Daiwa Fuego, but that's now up to $120. That used to be $100. So I guess that means for Daiwa, you probably have to go like the Daiwa CA80. But what other suggestions would you have in that, under $100 price point? If you have any other suggestions, let me know. Shoot me a message because I'll probably be compiling that list of reels to go out and buy and do this comparison here pretty soon. So I don't know, maybe we'll have to do under $150 at this point because I'd really love to have like a Tatula and that type of stuff in there, but it's going to be so hard if we really want to stay under $100. But there's just a little piece of my heart that always likes to stay under that $100 price point. I think that's a really fun exercise to try and build a really, really budget conscious rod and reel combo. Okay, and the last question here is from Gio, and he says, what's up, Andrew? Firstly, Tackle Talk is by far the best fishing podcast in the game. Secondly, now that you've dipped your toe into broadcasting at the Classic and had a glimpse of the, and it says quote unquote big time, I don't know about that, has your 1, 5, and 10-year plan for Tackle Talk changed at all? Do you ever see yourself going full time? Thank you for everything you do and for keeping us entertained every Tuesday without fail. Tight lines, Gio. Well, man, all I did was one event, so I don't think that counts as like big time, but I do appreciate you writing in. I appreciate the kind words. To be honest, I never have and still don't really have like a, 1, 5, 10-year plan for this show. It just kind of started organically and it sort of stayed that way for the past 5+ years or so. My only plan is consistency, is to have a show every single Tuesday ready ready for you when you wake up and to keep it interesting, to keep it entertaining, informative, and original. That's really like my only goal with this show. I mean, if I wanted to try and make this a full-time job, I would have changed a lot of things a long time ago to try and monetize this show a lot better. First off, I would have taken it off of podcast platforms completely and just put it on YouTube for two reasons. One, YouTube already has a built-in monetization platform to help you make money with every episode. You get paid for views, and you continue to make money on that episode every time someone watches it in the future. That is something that does not happen with podcasts. And two, that's where all the brands want to spend their money because it's public more than podcasts, meaning you can see subscriber counts and view counts and all that type of stuff. With podcasts, all that stuff is private. It's like behind a curtain. So none of you listening know how many subscribers Tackle Talk has. Think how weird that is, because none of that is public. It's the same thing with the download numbers per episode and traffic and, reach and all that kind of stuff. I can see all that on the back end, and honestly, the numbers might surprise you guys, but I kind of enjoy having one of those kind of best kept big little secrets in fishing. I mean, if you look right now at Apple and Spotify and the streaming charts, Tackle Talk is the top bass fishing podcast on both of those charts, and it has been for years now, which is awesome, but you don't get anything for that. You don't get money for downloads or streams or traffic or any of that. You get nothing. If I post an episode today and it gets 25,000, 30,000 downloads in the first week, it doesn't matter. I get $0 because of that. Meanwhile, if I would do that on YouTube, you get money for that, and pretty good money on top of all of the other partner deals you can work. And, every link in a description that you click on makes people money when you buy stuff. Like, there's just a lot more ways to make money on YouTube. YouTube is a better job than podcasting. So if I was really trying to make money, I guess I would immediately stop posting on Apple and Spotify and iHeart and Amazon and everywhere that you currently listen, and I would basically force you all to go listen on YouTube so that I could make money. But of course, I'm not going to do that ever. So the only way that we can make money from podcasts is by selling your own sponsorships. And over the years, you've probably noticed I've actually toned down a lot of the ads, and we've parted ways with a lot of people, some our choice, some theirs. But I don't know. I just kind of feel like I got to the point where, since it's not my full-time job, I didn't want to and didn't have to over-commercialize Tackle Talk. Right now, you get like a 30 to 60-minute episode completely free, not behind a paywall. I don't do any sort of Patreon or any kind of that weird stuff, with only one partner message at the very beginning of the show, and that's it. If I wanted this to be my full-time job, that would have to change drastically. We're talking a mid-roll ad every 5 minutes or so, probably, more sponsored content. I'd have to clutter up the show itself with more, brand messaging and that type of stuff. And we'd have to change some of our philosophies. Like, as we sit here right now, for 5 years, I have not taken a penny of sponsorship money from any rod, reel, line, or bait company in 5 years. So that means we can stay truly unbiased on this show. That would likely have to change if I ever tried to make this my full-time job. And again, I just don't see that happening anytime soon. So I would say right now, the plan is pretty simple. It's to keep making the best show each and every week that I can in my free time, between like my 80 to 90 hour work week and then my family and everything else I have going on in life, and to try and make sure that it's worth your listen and worth your time each and every Tuesday. I think that's my goal. That is my 1 year plan, my 5 year plan, my 10-year plan, my 20-year plan. That's just the plan for Tackle Talk. Put out a good show that's worth your time every Tuesday. And I hope we do that. And I appreciate every single one of you guys sticking with us, whether you've been here for, 2 weeks or 5 years. Appreciate you all. So that kind of wraps us up pretty nicely here today. Thank you all for tuning in. As always, you can find us on the internet, tackletalkpodcast.com. There you can submit your own mailbag question for your chance to be heard on an upcoming episode. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Tackle Talk Podcast. Go find us on YouTube, youtube.com/Tackle Talk Podcast. That full 12-minute walkthrough of my brand new kayak build is up there, ready to watch. I hope that helps some of you. If you have any questions, email me, tackletalkpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll see you right back here next Tuesday for another brand new episode of Tackle Talk.
Thank you for listening to the Tackle Talk Podcast. Tackle Talk is produced by Andrew Hayes. Copyright 2019. For more, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.